Hi, everybody. I thought today I would share something that comes up for me quite often, and I think it's something we all struggle with regardless of who we are. I'm talking about feeling ugly. I know it sounds so superficial and trite, but I think this is something that can be so damaging to ourselves and our lives as a whole. Ugly can be physical, mental, emotionally, or a combo. It can be feeling like you never do the right thing. It's not always just physical. Often we feel ugly in one part of who we are and it bleeds over into other parts. Feeling ugly has kept me from doing many things: swimming, wearing a bathing suit, applying for certain jobs, trying out for plays, dancing, saying certain things when I'm in public or at a party. Basically, I'm always trying to be a wallflower. I don't want to be noticed in any way, shape, or form. Even wearing shorts, which is something I haven't done for years because I feel like people will judge me and what my legs look like. And that's one of the reasons why I also started this podcast for myself, because it's really hard for me to hear my own voice and to see myself. And when you edit a podcast, you have to hear yourself and see yourself and pay very, very close attention. One of the things was I need to show people that even if I show up in my hair in a big top knot and stuff like that, that I'm okay. And this is actually a representation of who I am. Oftentimes I wear my glasses, like I don't have them here, but I wear my glasses like this when I shoot a podcast because I think I look cuter with the glasses than without. So lame. Everyone has these feelings. So there it is. We all have these feelings. The reason I struggle so much is just this overwhelming feeling of being judged, having people talk about my appearance or judging it harshly. And that's a hard truth for me. I think this is because I was once super judgmental. I think that's true for most folks. I think you really think other people are judging you because it is something you're doing all the time to other people. So that was kind of a hard truth for me to sort of work through that. We judge to feel better about who we are. It isn't long lasting. It's not a long lasting feeling. A few minutes later, we're judging again, because being judgmental is not a sustainable way to feel good about yourself. It just comes in that moment and then it's gone. And then you have to judge again and again and again and again and again in order to keep yourself feeling like you're okay or you're worthy. Now, when I say ugly, I want to make it clear that I'm not talking about physical appearance only, as I said. I'm talking about ugly both the inside and out. I also judge people on how they work, what they knew or didn't know, how they acted, etc. To be honest, I still feel judgment coming up now and again, but I try to recognize it when it does and redirect my thoughts. This is the I Care About You podcast, and we are going to talk about feeling ugly today. Why do we feel ugly? How does it affect us? And what does it stop us from doing? And how can we shift those thoughts into something that is more about self-love rather than self-hatred? So first off, why do we feel ugly? Sometimes we feel this way because our caregivers or schoolmates define beauty as this rigid and often based in ideals, and we can't give up that thought that we were taught. We were taught that this is the definition of beauty, this rigid thing. You have to fit in this box or you're not beautiful. We adopt the group's or the community's idea of beauty as a truth. The reality is that the idea and definition of beauty is ever changing and is not a constant. What was considered beautiful even like 20 years ago is different than it is today. So that model is always shifting and changing, but we tend to go with what we were taught or what was modeled to us as children or what we saw on TV or in the media or wherever that was. Which brings me to the media. As usual, magazines and media of all kinds play a huge role. We are constantly barraged with images of beauty that aren't even possible or real or true. An image in a magazine viewed while in the grocery store line is a digital image enhancement. It has makeup and etc. It is a representation of that person, but it's not a true image of them. Yet we are taught to consistently compare ourselves to that image and see the cover model as the idea of what beauty is. Although some companies have gotten a little better, most images selling us clothing, shampoo, makeup, shoes, things we wear, anything basically, are presented to us with models who fit the current box of beauty. They have gotten better at this, I must acknowledge, but still out there, you see so much representation of this box of beauty that society has decided beauty is, and you're not seeing a clear representation of humans. I talk about this phenomenon on the Mind Trap podcast that I did last month. If you want to look at that, that's a bias where we think beautiful people are more valid or smarter than people we don't think are beautiful. Companies use this bias to sell things to us. Another thing that's huge is self-beliefs. If we already have a habit of negative self-talk, we have an inner critic. Of course, we tell ourselves we're ugly. Sometimes this is because a dominant voice in our heads is telling us this, and that the idea, the ultimate goal is perfection. A perfectionist mindset is really damaging because I often say there is no such thing as lasting perfection as society has defined it. Perfectionism is a myth, yet so many of us think it's a goal. We compare ourselves to a notion of perfection, and if we don't measure up to that, we feel inferior. You will always be disappointed in yourself if you are comparing yourself to this perfection model, because that it doesn't even exist. So you'll never measure up to that because it's impossible. You'll always feel disappointed. If you compare yourself to ideals of perfection, you'll find it hard to feel like you are measuring up. We are taught at an early age to compare ourselves to others through competition, through ideals to live up to what someone else has done before us, to our siblings, our parents, our relatives, our friends, our teammates, our classmates, our workmates, you name it. It's baked into our lives. You are probably comparing this podcast to another one and rating it right now. This might be a good way to understand things at times, but when we compare ourselves to unrealistic ideals, we lose. Actually, I'm not even sure if comparison is a good thing. We have to use it in order to define what things are. Like we have to compare good with bad in order to know what each thing is. But I'm not sure comparison to the level of comparing yourself against others is a good thing at all, unless you're using it for some self-reflection practices. Another thing that contributes to this belief that we are ugly is our memories. I have a few memories from long, long ago that I still hang on to that relate to this feeling ugly business. Once a kid asked me if I was a boy or a girl, and everyone laughed and made fun of me for a really long time. And this was well before people were very gendered. You were either this or you were that. You were nothing else. So this was kind of horrifying to be sort of called out and have to defend myself and then feel like people made fun of me for it forever. Often people said I was fat or overweight. I had a childhood nickname of Fatty Anna because my name's Juliana. And I was really traumatized by that. When I played with certain groups of people, I had to be the big, oafy, kind of ugly characters. I was never the prince or the princess or the fairy or a main character in a game. Memories stick with you as facts. It can be very hard to shake the childhood impression of them. Even a recent memory, like someone calling me old, made an impression on me because harkening back to the first two reasons we feel ugly, old equals ugly in this society. I recently read an article on hairstyles that women over 50 shouldn't have because they make them look older. It was basically that every popular and trendy hairstyle out there, including a messy bun, was somehow wrong for an older woman to have. Yet, in the same article, there was an ad on a page saying sexy grandpa looks. And each one of the old men had very trendy haircuts and beards. So basically, it was a complete double standard and a perfect example of the media's dissertation on what beauty is. My angry self thought, wait until the author of this article gets old. This is a relatively new memory, but it has reinstated my belief that I'm not that good to look at. I want to also mention, although this isn't our focus, beliefs of being ugly can be a product of mental illness, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, body dysmorphic disorders, and things like that. We're not going to talk about those things today, but those definitely can play a role. So that's just a few of the reasons why you feel this about yourself and why you may have these self-beliefs. It can be a societal belief. It can be from memories. It can be from a childhood belief. It can stem from your own thoughts about what things are. It can stem from you judging things too harshly and having a model of perfection that isn't real. How does this affect us? How does thinking we are ugly affect our lives, our happiness, and our success? Wow. That is a big question, And the answer is in so many ways, my friends. From not engaging in certain activities to various forms of mental and emotional stress, such as mental illness, eating disorders, body dysmorphic disorders, negative self beliefs, such as I am ugly, are harmful. It can increase anxiety, add to depression, lack of self worth, self-hatred, fixating on flaws, negative body image, feeling like you are not as smart or as valid as others. It can be a catalyst for seeing yourself as flawed in other ways. It can stop you from engaging in relationships, lead to unhealthy relationship beliefs, unhealthy relationships. It can lead to feeling unlovable or that people are faking that they love you. You can feel that people are embarrassed to be with you, whether it's true or not. And it can profoundly affect relationships because you begin to perceive people as being untruthful with you, even if that isn't the case. You can become socially withdrawn. It can lead to perceived feelings of being judged by others and therefore judging others harshly. It can make you feel angry and unhappy with the world and your situation and other people. It can stop you from applying for jobs, going on vacations, eating out with friends, or engaging in social activities. It can lead to you feeling embarrassed in social situations, not performing your best, feeling bad about that too. It just kind of is a domino effect. It can stop you from lifelong dreams and bucket list items. I used to want to become a ballerina when I was a kid, and I gave it up because someone told me I was too fat and too tall. And I never wore a workout outfit again until I was much, much older as a consequence of that. And it just led me to stopping something I really enjoyed and wanted to learn and was really excited about. I just stopped it in my tracks. And I wasn't that young when I say this. I was actually graduated from high school. So I was just dancing for fun, and I was told that, not trying to be a prima ballerina or anything. So it can really, really affect you. Much of my 20s and 30s was spent not doing fun things because I was fat. Having children made me feel like my body was no longer acceptable due to stretch marks, extra weight, and all that kind of stuff. And I never dated people I thought could get somebody better than me, which in my 20-something brain was cuter than me, or they would leave me. Nobody really loved me. They were all faking it. A good friend helped me through this. And for a few years, I thought I was actually not that bad until I got older and these old thoughts from my 20s and early 30s came back. Even today, I often wonder who would want to date me? How could they possibly find my naked body attractive? I know that's a big thing to say, but I feel like a lot of people think that. And so therefore, I just need to say it. A lot of people feel that way about themselves. Thus, the turn the light off when you get undressed and whatnot. I think that often, actually. I'm really struggling with my hair right now. I mean, I have to go on these book tour things and see people in public, and I'll look so lame with my hair. That's why I read that article about older people and hairstyles. I worry no one will take me serious due to the fact that I'm old and not that attractive. I come back to walking in those deep, worn grooves of thought that my brain had about the old patterns that I'm ugly, even though for years I was able to just give that up and not even really think about it that much. It's definitely crept back into my mind, thus leading me to do this podcast. You think you're over it, and there it is back again. It's a lifelong struggle, I think, for all of us. We're not really taught how to get old, or that getting old is a good thing, or there's anything positive in it, or that there's any value there. It's just something to be afraid of, right? So when it's happening, all these well-worn grooves kind of come back up and present themselves to you again. So how do we shift? How do we find mechanism to help us combat these feelings of feeling ugly? From my experience, these feelings will crop up now and again, and it's a good idea to have a toolkit in place when they do. Here are a few things you can do to shift this belief in yourself. The biggest thing is to recognize these thoughts when they come up. They're probably so automatic for you, you don't even really think about it. You get up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and you're like, oh, my skin looks blah. Oh, my hair, blah. Oh, this outfit looks dumb, blah. That's all part of recognizing those thoughts when they come up. You're probably just, as I said, so ingrained in you, you don't even notice. But now take notice. Move away from the automatic thought or belief about yourself and into a place of reflection. When a thought of ugliness arises, identify it. Say things to yourself like, oh, that is a thought I have that I'm ugly, but it isn't a truth. It's just a thought that I have. I can think differently about it if I want to. What are some of the different thoughts I could have about this that are more affirming? What can you have when you look in the mirror and go, ooh, gross? That's more affirming than that. Stop that. That's just a thought you have. It's not a truth. What can you think differently? And how can it be more affirming? And just working with those things as they come up. You can also say things like, if a person judges me based on my looks and says I'm not perfect, maybe they are not the right person for me. Start looking at that, giving yourself some worth. If somebody thinks you're ugly or you're not perfect, are they someone you want to have in your life, or you want to have at that level in your life? Maybe a little distancing is necessary, or maybe a heart-to-heart conversation with them. Maybe they don't even realize things that they're saying are deeply hurting you. Things like, okay, so I broke out today. That doesn't mean I'm not smart or I'm not lovable. It simply means that I have a zit. Put things in perspective. In other words, develop positive and compassionate self-talk. Replace this negative self-talk with new patterns of self-compassion. Recognize when you assume people are judging and when that is actually happening. Often you will find that you have no reason to accuse someone of judging other than that you think they are. If you have surrounded yourself with a bunch of judges, try to find more non-judgmental spaces, friends, lovers. Work on being less judgmental yourself. Often we think we are being judged by others only because we ourselves are doing a lot of judging. And so we think other people are doing it as well. So shift that in yourself. Stop judging people. It's really hard because we're brought up to do that. And that's how we define things. It's an easy way to define things, but work with it. I don't need to judge that person. Here's a good attribute about them rather than the fact that they didn't do well on that presentation. Whatever it might be. Don't jump immediately to thinking everybody's judging you, because often that's just a thought you're having. It's not the truth. Move away from being hypercritical of yourself. Find joy, happiness, and what you like about yourself. Concentrate on that, or at least be mindful to give the same amount of brain space to what you like about yourself as to what you feel you need to work on or don't like. We often spend so much time on what we don't like about ourselves and far less time thinking about what we do like about who we are. Redefine yourself through the things you like about yourself. Write these things down and repeat them to yourself often. If you have a thought like, my face is ugly, then say, stop. This is not a truth. This is just a thought I have. It is part of my negative self-talk. I'm going to replace this negative self-talk with positive self-talk. Something like, one of my beautiful characteristics is that fill in the blank. I stopped obsessing about not having eyebrows. Like, my eyebrows are not really very well defined, and it was super liberating. I did this like 2 years ago. I recently looked at my eyebrows in the mirror and I was like, oh, I better do something about that. But then I said, knock it off, let it go. Once I let go of the hypercritical thoughts about my eyebrows, I felt better about myself. I may still manicure them once in a while, but I don't feel like I can't go outside because my eyebrows are ugly. I also once had this, I don't know what it was, this thing on my tip of my nose right here. I have a scar from it now. It was some sort of skin thing. And I had it for years, and it was right there, and it was super red. It was not attractive, and it was really hard to go outside and go to work and do all these things. But I had to work through that. And once I worked through that, I didn't care about it anymore, because I used to even talk to people kind of like this, or I had real long bangs. And even though the bangs really bothered me, I kept them because I didn't want to draw attention to the thing on my nose. And then one day I stopped caring about it and it totally went away. I haven't even had it since then. That's been like 5 or 6 years. So this is a good point. Letting go of some of the negative self-beliefs doesn't mean you stop hygiene or self-care routines, just that you aren't doing them to get perfect results or beating yourself up about it when you don't achieve this ideal effect that you're looking for. Tell yourself that everything you see on a screen or a glossy page isn't true. This is another thing. It's not a true representation. It is an artistic expression of that person due to a skilled digital artist. It isn't reality. Tell yourself this until you believe it, until you see it for what it is. You automatically know it is not a true representation. If you find yourself comparing yourself to one of these art pieces, stop and redirect yourself. Take a moment to look at the people walking around you and notice that they don't look like that magazine or screen image either. These people are real, the people you see walking around, not the images on a screen or a magazine or whatever it is. Any media take that with a grain of salt. And when you need to, look around at the real world for actual examples of what people look like. Stop judging others. Just stop. This will be so life-changing for you. You'll be much happier in so many ways once you do. You will automatically stop thinking everyone is judging you, just automatically. Replace a judgmental thought with one that is positive about the person. I started doing this instead of going like, wow, that person has really bad posture. I was like, wow, they're so nice. They're always so nice every time I see them on the street. Just stop focusing on other people's flaws, because that makes you feel like everyone is focusing on your flaws. So shift that. Besides, why do you want to go through life looking for everybody's flaws? That's not positive at all. Focus on how amazing your body really is and exactly what it can do, and be thankful for all the things you can do with your body. Write them down. Write a love letter to your body, or keep a journal of all the things you like about your body and all the things it can do. Take time to nurture your body. Enjoy your body for what it can do, from the simple things like the ability to smile and how that makes you feel on the inside, to what happens when you work out. Practice self-care for your mind and your body in ways that are nurturing and caring for yourself. Self-care equals self-love. I know I did a podcast a long time ago about self-care where I was confused about what it actually was. And I talk about this in my book too. I leave it up to just remind me how far I've come to understanding things, and the judgment that I had for self-care in itself, simply because it was pitched to me in a way that if you don't do a lot of self-care, well, you must be ugly, that I really internalized in this I am ugly self-belief. And so I was bitter about the self-care situation until I really was able to come to terms with it and my own beliefs that were clouding that understanding. So please remember, if you feel overwhelmed by thoughts of being ugly, or you feel like you're engaging in behaviors that are unhealthy, seek help. We all need help in this world, and support is a lifesaver. Seek the help you need from a therapist to a good friend. Seek the help you need and be truthful with the support that you find. Every time you're truthful, you open the door for someone else to do the same. It's a beautiful act of kindness and love. So put it out there. Obviously in a safe place. You don't want to feel like you're putting yourself at any kind of risk. But in a safe place, you can be truthful with what's really going on with you. And in that being truthful, you'll be able to find help, the help that you need. So as always, my friends, know that I love you and I support you, and we can do this. You can be your change. I can be my change. You can also go to my website and schedule time with me if you want to discuss this further. The link is in the description. It's julianajbruno.com. You're welcome to schedule time with me in any way you like, and we can go over these things in detail and come up with a personal plan if that's something that you need. So take good care, my friends. I love you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.